War-torn Libya. During a news conference, the US said there was no role for Washington there, just moments after Italy's Prime Minister had highlighted how important America's participation would be.
We need a stable and unified Libya. The U.S. role in this is critical.
I do not see a role.
War-torn Libya. During a news conference, the US leader said there was no role for Washington there, just moments after Italy's Prime Minister had highlighted how important America's participation would be.
We need a stable and unified Libya. The U.S. role in this is critical.
I do not see a role in Libya. I think the United States has right now enough roles. We're in a role everywhere, so I do not see that.
Well, it appears that the Italian Prime Minister had good reason, of course, previously to expect US assistance. Take President Trump's rejection standing at odds with recent actions. Earlier this month, of course, he approved that military airstrike in Syria, and he sent a warning message to North Korea, albeit a rather confusing one with his armada. Caleb Mopin takes up the story of where we are now.
We are losing billions and billions of dollars. We cannot be the policeman of the world.
When Donald Trump was running for president, he promised to do away with foreign interventions and put America first.
I will never send our finest into battle unless necessary, and I mean absolutely necessary. My foreign policy will always put the interests of the American people and American security above all else. That will be the foundation of every single decision.
But American interests seem pretty far-reaching. For example, they include Iran, which is over 10,000 kilometers away from Washington, D.C.
Everywhere you look, if there's trouble in the region, you find Iran. So right now, what we're seeing is the nations in the region and others elsewhere trying to checkmate Iran and the amount of disruption, the amount of instability they can cause.
And another 1,000 kilometers further, yet another foreign policy goal. Washington is promising swift action.
Under President Trump, the shield stands guard and the sword stands ready.
Donald Trump recently attacked Syria, violating international law because of unproven allegations about chemical weapons.
If Russia didn't go in and back this animal, you wouldn't have a problem right now. He was going to be overthrown.
Trump recently dropped the largest non-nuclear bomb in history on Afghanistan. He sent more troops to Somalia, and he's escalated airstrikes in Yemen. Now his old critics among the war hawks love him.
I am all in. Keep it up, Donald. I'm sure you're watching. Don't let these guys talk you out of being tough, because you need to be tough.
He has flip-flopped on a whole series of important policy positions. He's called for increasing military spending by an astounding $54 billion. This would raise the U.S. expenditure on the military to an even higher level than it was at the height of the Cold War with the Soviet Union. If you look at his record, he was not nearly as moderate as he portrayed himself to be. For example, he claimed he opposed the Iraq War, but the quotes from him at the time showed, in fact, he was a big supporter of going to war.
Donald Trump might have promised not to be the policeman of the world, but now, 3 months into his presidency, one has to wonder if he's going down the same path as his predecessors. Caleb Mopin, RT, Washington, D.C.
Quite sure what his, quote, very powerful armada that he was sending as a warning to North Korea is actually doing. The aircraft carrier strike group was spotted steaming the other way in the direction of Australia, far from the Korean peninsula.
Trump has decided to tell North Korea that he means business. Over a week ago, he decided to announce that a deployment of U.S. naval vessels was on its way.
We are sending an armada, very powerful. We have submarines, very powerful, far more powerful than the aircraft carrier, that I can tell you.
Pence backed up Trump, describing him as a kind of knight on a white horse, prepared to unsheath his sword against the forces of darkness.
Under President Trump, the shield stands guard and the sword stands ready.
But when he said that noble sword of justice, an armada of ships, was actually moving in the opposite direction. And over the weekend, it kept going the other way, toward the Indian Ocean. The U.S. military's Pacific Command explained that first the strike group was completing a shorter than initially planned period of training with Australia, but that it was now proceeding to the Western Pacific as ordered. Yes, Trump looked like quite the hero on TV, but but it appears almost as if he had no idea what was really going on with the ships. And it gets worse. People are now starting to question whether or not Donald Trump actually knows Kim Jong-un's name. He just kept referring to him as the gentleman.
You know, they've been talking with this gentleman for a long time. You read Clinton's book, he said, oh, we made such a great peace deal and it was a joke. They've all been outplayed by this gentleman, and we'll see what happens.
Plus, he referred to him working with Bill Clinton and negotiating over nuclear weapons. These are things that happened under Kim's father and grandfather. Well, they all bear the same name, so hint to Trump, just refer to the leader of North Korea as Kim. The trouble doesn't stop at North Korea. It turns out that the U.S. president isn't too good at geography either.
We've just launched 59 missiles heading to Iraq.
Well, you headed to Syria?
Yes, heading toward Syria.
You have the impression, a well-deserved impression, that the President of the United States actually doesn't know what he's talking about. He's following somebody else's script. Unfortunately, the dominant script in the United States and in Washington has been written by the military-industrial complex and those who have a neoconservative, hawkish military foreign policy. So Trump, in fact, looks like an actor, a reality show TV star actor who's getting his lines wrong. I mean, well, maybe he is.
Conflict between the United States and North Korea could break out at any moment. And those words come as tensions grow in the region. Earlier, Washington had pledged a harsh reaction to Pyongyang's warning that it will carry out a nuclear weapons test this weekend.
We are sending an armada.
If you become a threat to others, at some point, a response is likely to be undertaken.
Well, North Korea was quick to respond, its vice foreign minister saying that the country would confront any threat from the US with a preemptive strike. He warned that Pyongyang has a powerful nuclear deterrent. North Korea's general staff added on Friday that the country will strike US military bases in Japan and South Korea, as well as the South Korean president's residence in Seoul should America attack. With tensions rising fast, many media outlets are getting increasingly heated in their coverage too. And NBC is quoting unnamed intelligence officials saying that the US has positioned 2 destroyers capable of shooting Tomahawk cruise missiles close to the North Korean nuclear test site. Others claim that China could also get dragged in. But as RT's Emily Sue explains now, the war hype threatens to push all the wrong buttons.
Attention, North Korea. This is your last warning, courtesy of President Trump.
We have submarines, very powerful, far more powerful than the aircraft carrier, that I can tell you.
And the mainstream media just ate it up.
Tensions increasing this morning between the U.S. and North Korea.
Now he's moving Navy ships toward the Korean Peninsula to send a message to China's ally.
Military options for North Korea presented to President Trump. Sources say they include placing nuclear weapons in South Korea or killing Kim Jong-un. We have the controversial plans.
The possibility of military action by the new American president seems more realistic tonight.
And when the foreign journalists visiting Pyongyang were told to prepare for a, quote, big and important event on Thursday, their excitement turned into one headline after another. The hype got many anticipating that this big and important event to be North Korea's 6th nuclear test. Except, turns out it was just an opening of a new street with a showcase of a new development project. Whoops. But that's only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to over-the-top speculation on North Korea. For example, this journalist tweeted saying Pyongyang is preparing to detonate a nuclear bomb in a secret tunnel on Saturday to commemorate the birthday of North Korea's founder. His sources are unnamed, but hey, that didn't stop the media from jumping on it. Second example, some media outlets have shown satellite images of a North Korean nuclear test site, saying there's ongoing activity there. But if you look closely, none of the visuals show any definitive evidence of any nuclear device. And it gets even better. Not only are the missiles coming, they're going to have sarin in them.
There is a possibility that North Korea has already acquired the capability to launch a missile with a sarin-loaded warhead.
It seems the U.S. media is definitely beating the drumbeat of war. The U.S. media likes to only focus on the so-called North Korean threat, But a lot of what the Western media talks about in terms of North Korea is really based on distorted facts and factual inaccuracies about the historical context of how we've gotten to this crisis. I believe what is happening right now is that the U.S. is flexing its muscle in order to intimidate North Korea. We have been here before in the past. But by deploying aircraft carriers and strategic bombers to the region, what the United States is doing is it is creating a situation of tension where even the slightest misstep can create a confrontation that can quickly escalate into to full-scale war.
Of course, the international community should be concerned about North Korea's dangerous and unstable regime, but let's not make the threat worse than it already is.
She was everything to me. But they took her. And with her, they took my kindness and my mercy. That was their mistake. Because now, all I've got left is a cold heart. They thrive on doubt. They feast on fear. These wretched abominations blight this world, and every last one of them will perish by my hand.